Guys, thank you for joining us this Friday night right here, After Hours with Alex Stein on Real America's Voice. Man, it's such a privilege to talk to Tommy. Tommy, now I got to ask you, I love the Proud Boys. I think the Proud Boys did incredible work. They defended my good friend Gavin McInnes, and Enrique Tarrio is a good friend of mine. But they now try to say that you are the British Proud Boy, basically. Could you tell us, what's this English Defence League and these lies that they try to say?
Yeah, it's not necessarily. No, it's not lies. I set up the English Defence League in 2009.
So you set it up.
I started it. I was a leader, founder. We started in Luton. We started as a group in Luton of young men that go to football. And I'm not going to apologise for it. I'm a different man at 43 years old than I was when I was 20.
Yeah.
Yes, I gravitated towards a football culture, which is called hooliganism.
Hooligan, yeah, it's fine. You guys are wild, drinking beer and whatever.
Drink beer and fight other men that want to fight. You don't use weapons, you just have a punch-up. That's tribalism. I'm quite tribal. I think most men are, and most men don't mind a fight, right? So I'm from a rough town in Luton called Luton Town. It's the roughest town in Britain, so it's a real town with real problems. Now, when the English Defence League started, our daughters were being raped, terrorists took over our towns, and someone needed to stand up. It wasn't going to be female nurses, reality check.
Yeah,
right?
for
so
real.
certain people were going to stand up to them, and it was Englishmen that weren't going to submit. So we formed an organisation that spread across the UK. We tried to unite different football clubs and football supporters to take the fight or not allow these problems to be hidden any longer. So we went out on the streets, but we were very open. I'm from Luton Town, don't care what colour your skin is, don't care where you're from. Our problem is Islamic extremism has taken over our nation. So we were very open. We had a Jewish division, a Sikh division, a Hindu division. We had blacks, we had Asians, we had everyone, yeah? Now, the entire time I led the English Defence League, there's a counter-extremism unit in Metropolitan Police Force whose job it is to categorise groups, far right, extreme far right. The whole time I led, we were a centrist organisation. Just like the George W. Bush lie, the media labelled us far right, continually said we're far right, so then all of a sudden we've just become far right. That's the labelling. So I left the English Defence League 2014, 15, stopped the street protest movement. We'd got to a point where we took it as far as we could. We now need to use the media. We need to become the media. We need people to see what I've seen, and we're not going to attract the masses whilst people are throwing bottles and kicking off on the streets. So we changed our tactics. We grew up, essentially, learned from our mistakes. But when the riots happened in 2024, after Axel Rudakabana stabbed 3 little children to death and butchered another 7 in a Taylor Swift event, Taylor Swift dance class, when that happened, we knew we were being lied to. The country knew they were being lied to. We found out 3 months later because they'd come out and said straight away, it's not terrorism. How could you know it's not terrorism after an hour? It's not terrorism. We find out he had an Al-Qaeda manual under his pillow. He had rice in, so it is terrorism. He was a terrorist, but they lied to us for months. Now, the local community, not the English Defence League, not the far right, nothing, the local community got so angry, they exploded into violence against the police in this area. That night, they blamed the English Defence League. Now, the English Defence League was disbanded a decade before. There is no English Defence League. There hasn't been for a decade. So as soon as they mentioned English Defence League, I knew they're landing it on my lap. This is to blame me. This is so they can put me as a man behind all the trouble in the UK. And they used the newspaper to put me on the front page of the story in the Daily Mail, where they tracked me down on holiday and they run a headline saying stoking riots from his sunbed. No truth in it, never been prosecuted for it, but they wanted to land the riots on my lap. When the Proud Boys formed, I went on and discussed with them, met with them, and I tried to tell them they're coming for you because they come for us. They cannot allow masculine men to get together to organise as a form of resistance to try and combat some of the problems. They're not going to allow it, so they're going to get you. I knew they're going to get you. And lo and behold, they got them. They went for them. You had imprisonment. You had the lad who had the black wife? Who got years in jail. We had 3 kids. We done a fundraiser for him in the UK.
There's so many.
He was fighting Antifa, and they locked him up. And they don't deal with Antifa. They're allowed to do it, but they crush anyone who stands up.
Yeah,
so,
that is weird how they let the Antifas do it, but then if you know,
well, they're black shirts. They're working on behalf of the establishment, on behalf of the government, on behalf of the state to crush anyone who goes against the narrative or the agenda of this state.
Yeah, well, okay, so Tommy, we only got you on for a few more minutes. It's such a pleasure. Now, I've been a little critical about the Iran war, but this is why. I'm worried now that we're actually creating nationalism in Iran, and I think the likelihood of having a terrorist attack here in America is going to go up exponentially. So what do you think about that? Because aren't we kind of, we're fighting a culture of people that are willing to suicide bomb themselves. So that's a hard culture to fight against. So I'm worried now that we started this war, more Iranians are going to be nationalistic and want to attack us on our own soil.
The majority of Iranians or Persians don't support the Ayatollah. The majority.
That's true.
The Ayatollah is not Persian or Iranian. They're all brought in to enslave an entire nation of people. So you've got people fighting for their freedom. This isn't Afghanistan. 99% of Afghanis want Sharia law. So if you remove the Taliban, they're coming back because this is the law of the land that they want. That's a total... People try and compare it to removing Saddam Hussein.
See, that's what I kind of compare it to because we did fund Iraq fighting it. I just feel like the reason why I'm critical is because I saw what we did in the Middle East and it hasn't worked yet. That's why I'm nervous.
You have to understand the Ayatollah and the worldview that they want. They are terrorists. They're jihadists. They're not concentrating on there. They have funded every single conflict. The amount of American soldiers they've killed, 12 attacks against our country, all funded by them. So if you remove that power structure, now when you got rid of the Venezuelan president, you with China. Yeah, China would probably be, you mess with China. Now get rid of them, you're messing with China more. You're weakening China, you're weakening their resolve and their contacts. But not just that, they are the biggest sponsors of terrorism, the biggest sponsors of anti-Western Western views. They're bringing the country up to hate America, but the country have rebelled against it. The Persians are not Muslims, so they're fought against it. Rich in culture, rich in identity is a whole different ballgame to what happened in Iraq. So I understand the worry and the fear, and I understand that people voted not for regime change, but I also understand that Donald Trump has to do what's best for the United States of America and best for Western civilization, and removing them scumbags and them jihadis is the best eventually. So people, the view that you just said, I get it, but we're going to surrender our values and surrender what we should do because we know they've been imported into our border. At some point, you're going to have to come to head. We can wait 5 years or 10 years. In another 10 years, how many more sleeper cells are there here? They're funding everything in our nations. They're building. You see, if they had a nuclear button,
they probably would blow us up.
They're not civilized. They're not. Yeah. They're not logical thinkers. They don't think, well, they're going to blow us up. They're quite happy for you to blow them up. So they'd press it tomorrow. So we don't know what Donald Trump knows. We don't know what their plans are. But what we do know is their worldview. Now, their worldview is not to control Iran. It's to control the world. World domination. They're a caliphate mindset. We know how they think. They fund everything. They fund Hezbollah. They fund the Houthis. They fund everything. Now, I think it's a great thing, but I understand the argument against foreign intervention. I get it. But
that's why. Just
I
from
get it.
Our resume.
That's because of failed wars and failed policies in previous governments for forever wars. I don't believe I trust Donald Trump. I do personally.
I do trust Donald Trump.
So I trust his decision, and I know personally, if you rid that country, what's going to replace it? Now, there is a risk, but they want freedom. They want democracy. They want women's rights. They want values. They want Western values. If you get rid of that Ayatollah and you have a new government put in there and that country loves America, it takes away the power, the money, the funding that is funding the Islamization and the takedown of every Western civilization in the world. And eventually, you're going to save lives, eventually. Because if they can, they're going to war with us. They've been at war with America for 45 years. How many troops have been killed by them? So I think, you see how America looked under Biden, under Obama. I'm not being funny. You look like pussies.
Yeah,
you lost.
That's why I'm a little. We have a bunch of transgenders leading our military.
Well, now what you look like? You look like gangsters.
We do look
Donald
a little
Trump's
bit like gangsters. Okay, well, guys, for all the people that are watching this episode now, we've been very hard on the Islamic culture and the jihadis, but I want to ask you now a question. You have lived in Luton or Luton, I say Luton. I don't know. I apologize. And
it's Luton.
Luton.
We don't pronounce our T's.
Yes, but there has to be a lot of good kebab shops. So come on, you have to like. What is something about Islamic culture that you like? There has to be one thing that you like about it, Tommy. No, you don't like it. Shut up. So you don't even eat a kebab.
I've met some fit Muslim girls.
Okay, so see, that's what they say. The Persians are the big booty Latinas.
Oh, no, Persians, man, they're beautiful. So yeah, free the women, Persian. But it's not that. It's what's good. No, there's some good things.
What about their food, though? You've never had a kebab? I mean, that's some of the best food. You won't even eat a kebab?
No, we'll keep the kebabs.
The doner kebab is delicious, Tommy. Don't act like that food's not good.
Do you know what? But they're not the only people who could do a kebab.
That's true. Now we've sold all the
Lebanese
recipes.
Christian place. It's not that. Look, there's some great Muslims, and I know some that I love. That's the truth, yeah?
Yeah.
But they're not great because they're Muslim, yeah? Because they're not following the scripture of Islam. Because if they were, then they're not going to be my mate. Because they're not allowed to be your friend. So majority of Muslims are cultural Muslims. So Tucker Carlson flies into my country and he says, well, my taxi driver was all right. Oh, well, Fucking hell, Tucker, you had a nice taxi driver, so why don't we just let Islam take over our country? Forget all the rapes, forget the terrorism, forget everything, because Tucker's bloody taxi driver is a nice bloke. No, Tucker, don't diminish the rape of my country. Don't diminish what we're living under. You don't, and to American commentators, I get it, yeah? And there's this big push to blame everything against it's the Jews who are making us all fight against each other because of Israel. Well, up until 1948, guess what? They hated us. There's the whole history for 1,400 years is the massacring of Christians by Muslims. That's been going on for 1,400 years. Pick up the Quran and read what they say about Christians and Jews. And look at the Christian population in Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. What's happened to it? Where have they gone? That's the genocide. That's the real genocide. So no, but to Americans who don't understand this, you're sitting in America, you're not surrounded by them, you haven't lived with them, you don't know how they think, you don't know the hostility, you don't know how aggressive they are.
That is true. No, and that's the one thing, I want to defend Tucker a little bit, is that we don't have any Muslims where he is in Maine and where he is in Florida, so he doesn't have any Muslims, so you have to give him a little bit of empathy, maybe, because, what are you going to do?
No, Tucker used to know the truth. Tucker used to speak the truth. So Tucker,
was he ever anti-Islam?
He spoke about it, speak openly about the problems of Sharia.
This is one thing I want to defend Tucker on, too. Everybody says he's anti-Semitic. He does call out Israel a lot, but he likes Jewish people. He has Jewish employees. Like, he's not... Because I know real anti-Semites that are, like, really Holocaust-denying anti-Semites. Tucker's not that.
No, but Tucker's pretending he doesn't know the problem. Tucker pretended on TV sitting with Piers Morgan. Was it Piers Morgan?
Well, I think when he said that, now I'm defending him again. He knew who you were. He was saying that in a rhetorical sense. Like, who is Tommy? As if, like, what are you? Not who you actually are. You've been on his show. He knows who you are.
Well, why don't Tucker sit down with me?
Tucker, we're going to send him this clip. Please sit down with Tommy. He's going to be respectful. He's going to be nice.
Tucker, if you want, we can do it in your backyard. We'll do it in Doha if you want.
Doha, okay, yes. So you guys are going to go to Doha and do it. Well, Tommy, before you go, I know Tommy's got one of the biggest Twitter accounts, but how else can people find you and support you before we end the show?
Well, I'm on X, obviously, at T Robinson New Era. That's my home. That's why I'm very grateful to Elon Musk. I also have been given back my YouTube account. That's the ripple that come from the United States. The ripple of free speech is spreading. I was totally disappeared on YouTube. I'm now, you can find me there on Tommy Robinson Online. I'm on Rumble. Come give me a follow. If you want to watch my documentaries, trfilms.co.uk, my 4 best-selling books, 4 #1 best-selling books, not bad for a football hooligan from Luton. You can get them at trbooks.co.uk.
Guys, I love Tommy. This guy's fearless. He is Sharia law's biggest nightmare. And Tucker, I'm going to watch this. Just have him on.
Tucker, come on.
Well, come on. We need you to have him on, Tucker.
Come on.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching After Hours with Alex Stein. We'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.